Blog Talk Radio.
I was a hard drinking sinner with blood on my hands. I was a hard drinking sinner, a gun in my hands, drinking 40 pounds for dinner till I met a big man. And the man said, how do we do? 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 Well, I feel like reborn. My good eyes witness misery, but I'm feeling alright, cause the man said, how do we do? 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 Well, I'm feeling reborn, I'm feeling renewed, cause the man said, how do we do?
And this is Holly.
And we are back and better than ever. I know you guys were distraught last week, crying, looking at computers, staring at your smartphones, wondering where we were. And we took a little break, little sabbatical, but now we're back and here for your freaky entertainment.
Yes. It don't happen too often, but yeah.
No.
We took a day.
No. Exactly. We want to, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, or something like that. Something along those lines.
So tonight we have an awesome show lined up, guys. We have Kenneth and Farrah Deel, and Ron, you want to tell a little bit about them before we get into our interview with them?
Well, they are demonologists, and they have a radio show called Demonology Today. I don't really know all their history. I figured, they could tell us about that.
Yeah, I do know, together Yeah, they have a combined experience of like 80 years of, on demonology, possession, hauntings, etc. So this is going to be a pretty awesome show. And for you guys that are listening, we are in chat tonight, so come on in and talk to us.
Yes, definitely. And Holly is topless, as usual.
Yes.
That's how we roll. And I have my leopard skin thong on. So that
no banana hammock.
Scare off a lot
hammock.
of people.
Oh.
Yes, my banana hammock. Yes, yeah. So just to enhance the listening pleasure for you, give you that little mental image. Very hot, very hot.
Yeah. So Ron, how was your weekend? What'd you do? What'd you get into?
It was fun. I went to Henricus, Henricus Park, up to do an investigation with Dennis S. Locke, CPR Dennis, who has his show on Full Spectrum Radio on Wednesday nights, and then Tara Perfetti Street, who is actually going to be on our show next week, was the one who headed up the investigation. So it was
awesome.
Fun. We had a good time. And
great.
Last night, of course, we had our show on the Incubi Incarnate Radio Network, the Freak Show, which also, we had Dennis on that show last night as well. So you get
easy
2 nights of our freakiness. I mean,
absolutely.
It's true. You need to pinch yourself. You're not dreaming. It's true. You get us for 2 nights in a row. I know, it's hard to believe. It's like you won the lottery. Calm down.
The lottery no one was ever playing.
the freaking lottery. Need to hear Holly's sexy redneck hillbilly voice 2 nights in a row. You hear my non-sexy voice 2 nights in a row. But it's all right.
Oh, it's so funny. I actually think that we have our guest on, and I'm going to go ahead and screen them, Ron.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and...
All right. Well, let's see here. Yeah, we have a lot of. I'm really looking forward to talking to these people about demonology and stuff. We've had Christina Rake on the show before, So, and it's always very interesting, getting their points of views on different subjects and stuff like that. So, I'm very excited to talk to Kenneth and Farrah about their adventures or how they got into demonology. Of course, there are a lot of cool shows on this network as well, not besides ours, the Your Radio Show, the Full Spectrum Radio, Terrify Radio, the Debunker Boys, the Ghost Adventures Show, so definitely check out the rest of the shows on the network. Yeah, I was grasping for straws there, trying to figure out what to talk about.
Well, I'm back, and I have with me, drum roll, please.
Yes. Woo!
Where's my drum roll, Ron?
Hit the applause button.
I've got Kenneth and Farrah on the line with us. How are you guys?
Hey, how are you?
Thank you so much for having us, folks. I was looking for my spoons and washboard, but I think I tucked them away for the night.
We could start a jug band or something.
Well, we're not going to tell you all our secrets when we do Deliverance, but, that could be one of them. Just the sound alone. You know what they say about blessing the Catholic bells? Well, guess what? Our jugs are blessed, too. Oops.
I got my banjo out.
That's a secret.
I apologize for the pygmies in Australia and myself, Lord, please. Help us all.
That's right.
Have you ever heard our show? Because you'd be saying that a lot.
Well, we need all the help we can get.
I'll pray with you, Sister Holly.
Okay.
Awesome. That's about it.
I need all the praying I can get from him.
Oh my God! Yeah, you and me both.
Okay, honey, what do we do with our thigh-high boots? You got waders, I got thigh-highs, baby. Let's whip them out. It's getting deep in here.
Oh, what they say around here is we're at Shit Creek with no paddle.
Hey, you know what? We got paddles, but it looks more like, toothpicks, so I don't know, maybe push yourself off the side. What are you guys doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing great.
I'm doing awesome.
I just went to, Ryan's had his double shot of, what is that, espresso, whatever you call it out there in Richmond?
Starbucks. I could literally run through a wall right now. I'm pumped, hyped up, ready to talk to you guys.
Yikes.
Woo-hoo!
Yikes, I'll let you talk then.
I was breaking ass this afternoon. I need something to pick me up. Otherwise, I'd be snoring right now.
We're really excited to have you guys on the show and learn more about demonology and I say the world of demonology because as paranormal investigators we're always curious, and that's part of learning and what we do. But can you tell us about how you guys got your start individually into the paranormal field?
Individually?
Sure, go ahead, babe.
Okay, I'll start. And like my wife, we grew up in a situation that kind of exposed us to, we'll just say, haunted things. I remember when I was young, and I think it began around the age of 7, which seems to be typical. Some things like a hand through a mattress, a disembodied fiery face coming, growing from a swirly, pixely dot. And as it got towards my face, I could see there was a face inside of an angry face with flames around it, kind of gray scale instead of color, semi-transparent. When it got to my face, it just kind of poof, just like went up in smoke. I saw a picture of my guardian angel picture that I had in my room when I was a kid. It was a larger one with the 2 kids going across the bridge and a guardian angel behind the kid. Yeah. I actually saw a devil rendered into it. And it stayed there where I was just double taking it and then turning my head away and looking at it, and then saw it slowly fade out in front of my eyes. I couldn't believe that. And,
wow.
And it goes all the way to 18. And, this was no, black shadows that I recall. Of course, we didn't know to look for that. When you saw shadow anomalies in your room, which can be, evil spirits, for example. When you're a kid, you don't make that equation. Not unless it has a human shape. And then you wonder. So here I am, 18 years old, and I had a friend who my mom let stay over for a couple of weeks that he was on leave from joining the Marines, and he wanted to visit his girlfriend, and his parents moved away. So I was put caught up in my room. I was 18, and I woke up about 2 in the morning, and I sat up in bed half asleep, saw this dark figure at the edge of my bed, thinking I was dreaming, and said, "What do you want?" And he woke up and rolled over in his cot and looked to his left, and there on the side view he saw this hooded figure with a long arm pointing at me. And that was the first time I had validation, because my mother and father didn't say anything. They just said it was dreams and, those sort of things. So it began at 18. And then you could just say at some point, after that, there was a lot of research. We had priests and nuns in the family, a lot of resources available to us. Unfortunately, libraries and books outside of that realm really wasn't much of a help, because even Padre Pio talked about shadow spirits, showing their disapproval of when he was helping people in prison to convert from their dark ways, before they went to the chair or whatever. And other than that, we just, we found a few books, hardcover that basically had no titles that most people recognize, because the Hans Holzer stuff was very confusing. It was a desire to help people. It comes partly from my parents who were in prayer groups and did deliverance ministries. That's another name for it. And I just worked my way up. I wanted to be a psychologist. Throughout the years, I experienced things and got to do trial and error, trying to find, it's like, why doesn't a regular cross work without, being a crucifix? It doesn't seem to have the effect. I got to experience these things firsthand because I didn't have the right people to ask the right questions at times. When you're that young, I just can't call, Father Bill, my mom's cousin, or some of these kind of questions. I just run into them at family events and ask them then, Can the devil read your mind? You know, those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so now I'm 53, so, you know, and we got, we started with a parapsychology background because, like Ed and Lorraine Warren, there was nothing else out there except, you know, when it was called psychic research. There wasn't a lot out there, so I started from that spot as well. So I know all about all these devices and everything like that. So no matter where we're at now, you know, as religious demonologists is a more universal term, that's my background on that, you know, to sum it up.
My background's pretty similar. We, you know, we say it's uncanny. Sometimes we have a twin somewhere on this earth, and sometimes we never meet them, and sometimes we do, and it's kind of scary looking directly into the mirror and realizing how stupid you really are. It's like, hey, nobody ever showed me that stupid side of my butt. but he did. And it was a good thing. Demonology, to me, was not something I realized that I was involved in till probably my mid-20s to late 20s. It was something I practiced. Being a Catholic, you know, there were only a couple ways to get rid of demons and get rid of evil. And I grew up in a time that, you know, like my husband, I'm in my 50s now, that, you know, kids thought nothing of playing with Ouija boards. They thought nothing of scrying into mirrors after a few shots of their parents' liquor. They thought nothing of drawing circles in campgrounds and pentagrams and screaming at demons to come play with them. Yeah. And so, you know, undoing this stuff and binding and rebuking and calling upon the name of Jesus to protect me in my campsite while, you know, we're like holding on to our crosses going, okay, God, whatever's going on out there, we don't want to play with it. Got it? So demonology was something more that, you know, you basically, it's kind of like swimming. Somebody throws you in the lake and all of a sudden you figure out you can float and your arms move. It wasn't something that, you know, I really studied probably until, you know, after my first child. When I say study is that I talked to other priests for help, because the fact of the matter is, when you're talking about demons and you're talking about the church, which has claimed exorcism for over, you know, thousands of years, they stopped teaching exorcism in the 70s. And that's basically, you know, some of the heyday of some of the idiocy that I experienced, you know, 70s and 80s and 90s. And it wasn't talked about, it wasn't mentioned, so it was very, very difficult to find a priest who would actually talk about it. And those that did wanted you to go talk to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. It was kind of like, you know, pass the buck Washington. No, this was have a sip of wine and a smile and then go talk to somebody in another state. You know, so here's a hug, I love you, goodbye. You know, to bring me up to current, you know, I continue to work with paranormal groups, ghost hunting groups, and, you know, groups that went to places and tried to help people that had the worst and severe problems, you know, such as, you know, eyes changing, physical bodies changing, you know, their head kind of like, you know, looking like it got rearranged on their shoulders and they didn't know if what they were seeing was right, tapes, you know, not displaying, because back in the days, okay, you guys, we're old school. I mean, we used powder, okay, and Polaroids and cassette tapes. I don't know if anybody knows what talcum powder is unless they dry their bums or their baby's bums with them. And, way old school.
Yeah, recorders are about as Spock's tricorder, you know, I mean, that was the smallest size.
I mean, we didn't need EVPs. If there was something in there telling us, we were like, get out of here, oh my gosh, get to the door. We're a bunch of chickens, scared littles.
Like microphones into it, so it was loppy, you know. It's like setting a band equipment.
Oh, my gosh. So, you know, demonology wasn't anything I realized I was a demonologist until, you know, I met my husband over 6 years ago. And I'm like, I like gave up my life, totally screwed it up. You know, I worked with this fabulous priest when I'd left Michigan and had done some cases. And I said, you know, it's time for a different lease on life. I'm going to just I'm going to move, you know, across the country. And I'm just going to be this nun person. No drinking, no dating, no nothing. I'm just going to be a nun for me, okay? And And it's like, I'm bored on Halloween. I'm like, okay, who wants to talk to me? I'm kind of bored. And I see this cute little guy that kind of looks like a mix between, like Eddie Money and Van Halen with two little baby doves under his arm. I'm like, yeah, he looks like he's fun to mess with. And I got to talking to this guy, for hours on end. And we're talking about demons and ghosts. And it's like, well, I know this and I know this. And he's like, I know this and I know this. And I'm like, I know that and you know that and I know that. So we got to talking like 14 hours a flipping day. He's like, let me send you my book. And I'm like, you can't show me anything in your book. He sends me this book, and I'm like, well, I could have read this book. So what? And he's like, well, yeah, I wrote this book 10 years ago. And we realized that it was pretty blasted rare for two people that had all the experiences that we did and all the helping that people that we did to be brought together. It's like, ooh, is this kismet? Or are we just going to bump into each other and say goodbye? And it was really kind of weird because, we had that moth to flame attraction that, you just can't peel yourself off of somebody.
Right.
And and it hasn't stopped because there's something about whether you are going to a party with somebody you know is not going to leave your side, no matter how drunk you get or how stupid you are. There's something about being with somebody that thinks like you do and will take care of your back. Got your six, got your whatever. Yeah. And we are much more effective in the cases we handle now instead of, there just being one of us. Because, on my own, when I was working, with paranormal investigators, New Age Reiki healers or whoever I was working with, I would always have to go, check with a priest or, go check with somebody else because they didn't have exorcists where I lived. Yeah. So, I had to talk to somebody in spiritual warfare that would help me with the kind of situation that I was dealing with or the demon, whether it was generational or whether it was just invitational or whether it was an evil human spirit. So I had to double check and make sure. Now with Ken and I have a great blessing between the two of us. Yeah. We both kind of we'll be talking to somebody and he'll be like, oh, this is it. Or he'll be talking to somebody and I'm like, honey, that's it. So it's kind of better than tin cans stretched across the house and listening to other people talk. It's really quite a great way to practice religious demonology with somebody that knows what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting because outside the church, I'm saying the exorcists who have been more formally trained, and a lot of them just had an interest in it. We have some priests on deck, as Father Brian DeTulio, for example, who's always had that kind of side research because they don't teach it in seminaries. We're not sure where he's going to go exactly with this, but and not since John Zaffis have I had someone to bounce ideas off of, and they would give me some uncommon knowledge in return to give a second opinion. So it's a good time. John's busy, but back in 2005, I spent a lot of time talking to John. I got a great deal of respect for him. He's quite a busy man right now, so it was very refreshing. And it's female too. What are the odds of that? So and beautiful. Hey, all right. She doesn't realize that she
full package.
She's coming here to check things out, but it was Hotel California here. You can check out anytime you like, but you never leave.
Oh, that's funny. It just sounds like really fate kind of brought y'all together. I'm a person who never believes in nothing's ever a coincidence,
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. It's not.
It was as usual.
That's cool. Yeah. It's cool how fate brought you guys together for sure. For the I guess the layman who's just listening, what exactly are demons?
I'll let you handle that one. Okay. Oh. Let's demons are preternatural, supernatural beings who just absolutely love to muck up your life, let you think you are fabulous, your poo don't stink, and just basically tell you anything you want to hear because you are the bomb, baby. That's what a demon is.
Oh my God. I know so many people like that.
Exactly. Just sign me up for that line. Tell me some more of what I want. Oh, I'm a medium. I'm a psychic. I'm a seer. Oh, yeah, just tell me what I want to hear. I'm going to help people. I'm going to heal the world. Basically,
that's
very
a universal
vain.
definition, definitely. And sometimes that's, we got to start something that's common ground, like when we had in our first book, the section in there just called Universal. And we tried to explain things of positive versus negative. As soon as you open the drapes up, there goes the darkness. It's gone.
Yeah.
and the influence of music on plants. All of that stuff is easily understood and more universal. So when we talk about demons, if we refer to them as entities, we know they're intelligent beings and they're negative entities. And, the church, it does seem to fit and correlate because of their responses to, well, then again, Jesus is a positive entity, I guess is the way they universally state. And the way they have an aversion, even from people who don't even believe in him or know about him, you give them things like crucifixes and so forth. And they're like, "Why? I'm not Christian. Why do you think they responded if they're jinn to a crucifix?" They'll ask. And because the same, no matter what we define them as, they have the same nature, the same property. And by definition, through the old church, the old Christian, and even through the Jewish, it's just the fallen angels. It's not the Nephilim, which is some hokey Enoch theory.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. Anything, Farrah?
No, I was just going to say just to polish off that definition of demon. A demon only exists to destroy any piece of humanity it can, whether it's you, your unborn child. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only reason, because it is already doomed. It is already dead to God, and its only goal is to make you and I dead as well. And miserable.
Are they physical beings we just can't see, or do you know what they are like made up of, or?
Angels and demons were created in the Avram. Okay, the Avram is the existence between heaven, which is timeless eternity, and time of mankind. So when they rejected God and they rejected His authority, they're stuck in a place that they experience great pain.
So is that purgatory?
No. Yeah. Totally different, sweetie. Hell has many different levels, just like heaven does. And purgatory is a theologically perfect area for a soul to pray, to contemplate, and to perfect itself before it comes before the throne of God. And a demon itself is, if we could see demons, they would cover the earth. They are spirit, just like we are perfect spirit, just like your dog is spirit, just like the tree is spirit. But it is a different kind of spirit because it has a timeless knowledge of specific things, although it is on a very short leash on what God will allow it to do.
Right.
Okay.
That's a very deep thing. Don't ask her to go into detail about that. I'm just going to play the organ.
Okay, honey, fine.
There's a theology, a philosophy that goes really deep into that stuff, but it will make sense if there was time.
If there was time, which there is, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll keep it bubblegum.
Yeah.
I like bubblegum.
I love bubblegum. I usually chew 2 pieces at a time just so I can irritate it.
So my next question for you guys is, when you come into demonic cases, or when you talk about, I know you guys have studied it for a long time and have seen many cases, are certain people targeted for how are they targeted? I mean, do y'all have a theory on that?
Oh no, there is so many writing on exactly how people come in contact with demons, how they invite demons. The number one way to play with a demon is to be in a state of sin. What is sin? Sin is being away from God. What is being away from God? Okay, well, what is the commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. Okay, well, I don't love God. There's one sin. Oh, well, I think I'm going to sleep with my neighbor. There's 2 sins. Okay, well, let's see. I think I want my neighbor's car, so, I think I'm going to buy one just like it. There's 3 sins. Okay? It's that simple. Okay, fine. You want to go to a party? Well, you know what? This guy, let's just play with the Ouija board. There's another sin. Well, I shall have no other gods before me.
Well, that's actually the invitation.
That is.
The other one's weakened your... It's made your door this little flimsy,
precisely
flapping Western-style door, saloon door, because of the other things you've done, and then suddenly you go to play a Ouija board, and you gave invitation, and it crawls right under your door. And
and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so flip about it, but it is really that easy to encounter demons. The number one way that we actually are basically maligned by demons is usually through generational demons. See, when demons are allowed to pester you and I, Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, good.
You cut off for a second.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh,
The number one reason that demons are allowed to pester you and I is usually some horrific, slight insult, abuse, or incident that happens to you that wears your spirit down and causes you to question and doubt your faith and your ability to discern. So 95% of, yes, exactly, 95% of demons usually come through the father and usually come through generational curses, rape, incest, molestation, abuse, alcoholism, that sort of thing. Because that sort of tear, leaves a wide open gap for a demon to say, okay, I want to be in this time right now. It attaches itself to the family, and then every woman in that family is either raped, molested, hurt, or abused until somebody steps in and says, oh, generational curse. Got to get rid of it.
And that's a profile for the possessed.
Yes, it really, really is. That's a profile leading into possession. But it's very, very common for oppression and obsession. That is so common. It's so very common.
And that's what we got to do. I mean, the professional profile of the psychology of the human mind and is going to expose a lot of things as to why they became possessed and how to get rid of it. Because if that part is not delivered, from their mind through therapy or sometimes, drugs or whatever, then they can't actually get the spirit out that's affecting him because the other part needs to be healed as well. Now, houses are a different thing altogether. I can say that in the last 20 years I've been rather disappointed because, we all read the books and we don't find it very often where a family moves in, they're actually innocent victims, like the whole family just there's always something. You look below the surface, you find out someone's having
There's always a history there.
So that's the invitation. One of the people the invitation. Let me give you an example. I guess somewhat is this a good one. The Dublin, Connecticut case. Our friend Deb Johnson, the Glassels. I don't know if it was brought up in the book, but she played with the Ouija board for a very long time to the point where it moved by itself. It asked to be under her pillow at night, and it had a special case that it requested, special treatment, like imagine if a corpse could talk and it complained about the coffin it was being put in. So that passed on, and then she was 12, 13, 14, 15, going to 22 years old, and then they moved to that one house that seemed to start it, that they brought something with them. And so it took years later for this to come into play. But that's a perfect example of that. If you looked at the surface, you're like, why is this happening to these people? But if you didn't know about the backstory, that's what gave it the catalyst for the proximity effect. They seem to multiply. What's that word that we use, dear, about when one demonic spirit encounters another? Like you move into a house and you already have a demonic attachment, and that's why it seems to flare up. There was a word that we liked.
It's called Avon. It's an Avon party.
That's not it. But that's a good one.
Let's get Avon.
That's a Farrahism. We'll take that one.
Avon calling.
That's right. Avon calling. Here, would you like another one?
Yeah. That's what I got into it for because I was haunted, not possessed.
I'm sorry.
It's very different. Now it's like most of the cases seem that there's always an oppression or would be possession, and possessions are rare. The full possession. Always is in the wings somewhere in the family and the household. And like I said, my wife said the generational curses seems to be an area we have to look at more and more now too. The top two things that causes demonic activity and infestations and so forth, give it invitation, is through immorality, perversions, and through and which also brings an incubus, succubus type spirits where they touch you and stuff at night and try to work on you in your dreams, and eventually goes from a gentle lover to rape. The other one, of course, is the occult doorways, which can be the purposely conjuring a demon out of curiosity. The Charlie game, which is just a kind of a cheap version of the Ouija board, a poor man's Ouija board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you think since right now we're living in morality is not really that prevalent in this day and age? And there's there's Ouija boards, there's Charlie. Has there been an increase in demonic activity because there's more of a nonchalant attitude towards religion?
Truthfully.
Or all the TV shows that are on TV right now with the demons and stuff, is it Is it helped?
It's not.
Like
it's not a matter of if there's more demonic activity. It's the fact that people are embracing the demonic as the norm. You're not going to hear about it. Why would you complain if you've got, a voice that calls itself Fred and tells you the lotto numbers, tells you, oh, go talk to that person in the produce aisle. She's about to have a baby, and you go and talk to her. And why would people not want to run with demons if demons are giving them everything they want in these demonic voices? So as far as people complaining about it, no. As a matter of fact, people are more resistant now more than ever, and they actually are enjoying their demons. And they find out, oh, well, I'm not giving the demon all the homage it wants, and it's kind of upset with me, and they might, complain to a paranormal investigator and say, well, this is happening. But, I really haven't had sex in 6 months, and this is really, really nice. So, I really don't think I want to say the prayers to get rid of this because at least somebody's sleeping with me, even though I don't like it. I'm not kidding you. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, they become, it's comforting to them. It's,
Exactly, Holly. It is comforting.
Yeah. It's never a ghost, by the way. It's never a ghost. They can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't pull that off as a human spirit. In life, if we can't expect them to move objects with their mind, to Jedi tricks and stuff, how are we going to expect them to have a disembodied member, to be able to get that job done? It's just, it's extraordinary, and usually when extraordinary is there, it's demonic, and that's, kind of spells it all. And, most of the cases we see are going to be people saying, I got a shadow visitor and whatever. And people say, well, whatever, we judge it by what it is. If it's evil, we run it off because it could be a human spirit. And we just don't take any chances, don't let it build up, that kind of thing. Kind of a preventative thing.
Right. Well, being in the paranormal field, you hear a lot about the shadow people, and we ask almost every guest what their opinion is on the shadow people. But I will tell you, we did have a case a couple of years ago where the lady in the house did have a shadow person. I do feel it was very negative, only because I think she fed into it and she loved the attention from the paranormal groups. Because come to find out, there was another paranormal group in before us. And, I bluntly told her, she obviously had mental health issues, which she was very good at hiding at first. But, when you're paranormal investigating, you really have to look at people's psyche. And, people don't understand that from that, because if you go into a home and you're dealing with a person, you got to know everything. Like, are there drug use? Are there any kind of violence in the home? You look for all them signs, underlying signs. And, it was just a really sad situation, and, we tried to help her the best we could, and it was like a train wreck ready to happen. And then come to find out, a year later, I actually spoke with a psychic medium, Pat Bussard, which is a really good friend of mine now, and she had the same case, which was disturbing, and she said, oh, wow. She said, which was really awkward because we actually had her on our show for an interview, but we didn't mention the woman's name and stuff like that, of course. But come to find out about the same individual, But I always tell people, unless you're willing to help yourself to some extent, it's hard for someone else to reach out and help you. Because what's going to happen if you come in there and, you get rid of any kind of negativities there, but what's going to happen? Negativity is going to come back and find that person.
Exactly.
Wow, that's well said. I don't hear that very often, especially from hosts.
And that's why we're finishing off a book, Haunted Investigations for Christians, because we want people to be armed to know that a lot of people shop around paranormal teams.
Well, absolutely.
It was interesting too about the. Oh, go ahead.
No, that was what I was going to say is, and I tell everybody this and I preach it, and I'm like, listen, most of the paranormal investigators that are investigating right now, they honestly do not know what they're doing.
No.
They don't know. I mean, we went into, we had a case where we had investigators before us who told the clients they had 2 demons in their basement, but that's okay because they saw it around them, and they went to the back the next day, and they weren't there anymore. So, oh, my God, you're talking about these people were absolutely mortified. And
oh, my God.
It was, people, you can't, it just disgusts me. There's people out there like this.
Yes, a lot of them.
What's interesting, and in the book made me think of it too, is when we connected with Ralph Sarchi for the first time, we were reminded that our methods had changed over the years, And my wife can say the same thing, but on an independent level, she had changed her styles over the years too. And we kind of gotten more to where we consider each haunting or haunted person or potential thing, because it can be an object in itself causing all of it to begin with. We consider it a crime scene. And instead of going there proving that there has been a crime committed, we go there and find out the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and then we ask person, place, or thing. Those are our own little keywords we borrow from grammar and from the typical kind of inquisitive reporter, and it works for this investigations. We don't bring EVP recorders in. We sit a recorder down and we interview the people. If you're going to hear something, you'll hear it over the recording during the interview, like in Conjuring, where actually the voice was eliminated and some disembodied voice. That happened to the Warrens, but not in that case, from what I understand. They put a bunch of different elements of different cases into one story, so I throw that in there. But that's good in a way, because both me and my wife had extensive background in entertainment and media, including her own morning show in Michigan, and I had a band for 15, 20 years, that sort of thing. And one of the things I don't miss is hauling the equipment around. And it's nice to go in there, and we have a doctor bag. It's got pamphlets, it's got a frankincense and myrrh thing to smoke the place, and we got holy water, got the Benedict crucifix, and that kind of thing. But we have a recorder only to get the interview down. Usually it's our phone, because it'll save it directly to digital, and the microphone's pretty good in there. It's better than those. About 6-10 years ago, they were using the I don't think Pioneer makes it. Who makes that one? Olympus. It's a handheld digital recorder, and they even use it on TV on those ghost hunting shows. And then they plug the audio into a computer, and then they upload it into there simultaneously while they're monitoring, what they picked up. Well, the problem with that recorder is, and this is why it's good to know the technical stuff is it's using old technology for MP3 encoding, which means you can have anomalies in there that have to do with bad encoding. Have you ever heard the first MP3 encoders? And then they sound like wow, they're just wacky. And and finally, someone got it right, and they were cheap. They were charging too much money for the good ones too, and now you can get them free, and you can get them converted online. And that was part of the problem. The other part, of course, the file size, which means that the bandwidth, including the microphone, is only for voices. You want something with a broader spectrum that'll cover the entire high fidelity spectrum, a little broader hi-fi sense. And something not so close and only monitoring for voices in a small spectrum of frequency. And because that thing it's like a dictaphone. It's the thing that you're in a business trip, you take it out of your pocket and go buy into stock, and then you put it back in your pocket. It's not to pick up background of disembodied voices and stuff. And no wonder why most of them sounded like people flushing the toilets and bad encoding, like someone clearing their throat and stomach growls, So that's a little tidbit. That's a technology thing, and I get to kind of throw the electronics background on there, and as well.
You got the tech side going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
You should totally be my tech guy.
I'd be the techno geek, so my wife doesn't have to be.
Oh, that's so funny. So. Since we're already talking, I know I asked, about the targeting of certain people, and we covered that. My next question to you guys would be, what are the signs of a demonic entity being around you? Does that start with oppression? Go ahead.
Oh, signs of a demonic entity around you?
Yeah,
like let's say you're in a house. What's the signs?
Right.
Well, you can get early signs. The first place they show up is anxiety. That's it. I always say anxiety is the first thing to come and the last thing to go in a haunting. Because by the time it's gone, you have to kind of relearn your emotions a little bit on what you just experienced and how to deal with it into the future, which is an important thing also, because they love negative emotions. They're drawn to like a moth to the flame. And then with anxiety, that doesn't mean anything alone. And that's the thing. These are not, they're bullet points where you have to look and go, like the psychologist might do if you just took a test. That's interesting. It's only a combination thereof, and that's why you can't just say checklist and you take an online test. Oh, you're demonically infested. I think there's actually some other non-denominational website that actually has that, a checklist. It might be demonbuster.com or something, but one of these wacky ones. But we noticed that dreams seem to be the first thing. People really having dreams that have nothing to do with what they were thinking the night before, what they watched on TV. We just call them demonic dreams because of the nature and the feel of it. And then you might wake up and find it's exactly 3 a.m. And that seems to add to a little bit more. That's the early stage. And then from there, you actually might wake up after a bad dream and then find something standing at your bedside, a hulking shadow, that kind of thing. And, that's it doesn't, we're going to say that starts to indicate demonic. I mean, what is a ghost? Because of the first two things, because ghosts don't get into your head like that. And they don't care what time of the day it is. Not unless they're manipulated by demons and part of their entourage. So when we get past that, then you might get past things that, if you get to the daytime and you're starting to see them at the corner of your eye, then there's a problem. Because when they get to that point, you have an infestation on deck or when it started. The typical thing was with infestation, that's when you cross the line that they said invitation has happened. The symbolic 3 knocks seems to be very common. Or actually someone will hear 3 knocks on the door. Or even on your bathroom door if it's trying to get into the bedroom because it's after you, for example. And it could be like this, could be 3 sets of 3, or it could just be, or this could be like that. And then that's something to know. When people tell me, it's like, ooh, yeah, you didn't mention that before, But it's a mile marker, and, thank God that we have some of these indications and that they were like, trailing a deer. They have their ear markings. So when infestation starts, you might hear it like your house is actually inhabited by, squirrels in your wall or something. You can hear scratches and you can't locate the smells that are coming about the house. That can be early signs of infestation, but the precursor was there already. And by then, the physical manifestations have affected the environment. You might feel an icy cold touch. You might have the drastic changes in the room where it feels like, have you ever rode a motorcycle at nighttime and you ride in and out of cold pockets of air? Yeah, it's kind of like, you can actually feel that when you walk through a house, just your regular house. You shouldn't feel that in a mansion or anything. I've been through mansions and stuff that aren't haunted before. But you wouldn't feel that if you walk through that. And that's the best comparison is like when you're on a motorcycle because it happens so fast. It's almost like the path walking from one part of the house and then to another room. Now, those are the early ones. And now you said something about oppression. When you get into the disembodied noises, when they're actually affecting you physically, the 3 scratches is usually a sign that you've been marked as a target for oppression. And it can be 3 parallel scratches or 2 scratches with one that's offset. And I don't know why the second one is. I don't know what pattern is. We didn't see any occult symbolism or a symbol representing a demonic name or anything like that. But there's still 3 there. It does seem to be the number 3 yet again. But we look for the number 3, not the number 666, like the anarchists,
No,
so
come on, honey.
The number 3 has something to do with the marking of the Trinity. Is that what it is? Mocking the Trinity.
It's mock. Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
So, anything to throw in there? Would you?
No, I'm sipping wine. I'm happy.
Well, could there be like a just malevolent spirit, just trying to mess with a family and doing all the stuff to make it look like their demonic activity?
Of course.
Just has that ever happened where you come to a place and it ends up being just like a regular spirit?
Yes, like a evil human spirit.
Yeah, just
sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand that a ghost, a regular ghost, may be seen and doesn't touch, doesn't talk, doesn't do anything. We don't completely understand why a human ghost may appear. There's no obvious or outward signs maybe to comfort, but it never scares. Now, unfortunately, an evil human spirit, on the other hand, may appear as a ghost, may appear to be loving, may appear to be kind, but because it's special place, and for the crimes it committed, for things that it did against God while it was alive in human flesh, in its place in hell, the demons literally force it back into its old crime mode, and it will move objects. It won't smell. This is a big difference, though, between an evil human spirit and a demon. It won't smell as bad as a demon. A demon can, literally make you want to puke your guts out. An evil human
sulfur smell?
Yes. A lot of times worse than a sulfur smell. I like sulfur. So this is way worse than sulfur. An inhuman, or I should say an old human or ex-human evil spirit, on the other hand, may smell like he stepped in, and then the next time smell like maggot-eaten flesh. It smells and the characteristics. See, that's another thing people really don't know. But demons have psychological and familial characteristics from the family or the tribe that it's coming from, whether it's a sex demon or a demon of hate or a suicide demon. And when you're talking about an evil human, it is going to be bound to the characteristics. Like, let's say if it was a pedophile in life, it's coming back, and that's the sort of tempting things. It will lead you away. See, this is they obfuscate and they distract. So this evil human spirit could be, basically showing you pansies and duckies and trying to hurt your children. So it's very, very insidious how these human spirits work.
Wow. Oh. So on that note, Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and take a break. I've got a good song lined up for us.
Sweet.
And we're going to get right back into it with you guys. So you guys just hold tight, and we'll be right back with Kenneth and Farrah Deel.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
side. We are all just prisoners here of our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast. They stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find the passage back to the place I was before. Relax, said the night man, we are programmed to receive. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Okay, guys, we are
Welcome
back with Kenneth and Farrah Deel. Hey
Hi
guys,
there.
you with us?
Yes. My wife is standing up getting cheese. Some specialty cheese with the wine. She has a glass of wine every night, before she turns in. It's just nightcap. And,
Yeah.
Cabernet.
I drink beer.
So anybody?
This is called Wild Rose.
Yeah, if that was beer every night, I'm sure I would see it. But it's just this kind of way to mellow down. I definitely see why. Sometimes we have such a day.
It's my form of exercise, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Lift one, drink
and it's
two.
good for the heart too. They did that study. It says it
That's
actually
right.
knocks cholesterol
Right.
and prevents stroke and heart attack or something like that, or stroke rather.
I drink the classy wine like Mad Dog 2020.
Oh, come on. We haven't had that in, what, 25 years?
I start seeing shit then, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, my gosh, Mad Dog 2020. Let's not go there. We used to shoot the bottles after we were done with them.
Wow. Demons.
You young whippersnappers. Your Mad Dog 2020.
Or you could come around here where they have white lightning.
Oh, that stuff will kill you.
Oh.
Unless you put some grape juice in it.
I like the apple pie is really good. That's like my favorite.
Oh,
I'll bet.
So my friend Dennis
gosh.
makes some great apple pie moonshine up down here in Richmond.
I bet that's excellent on ice cream. Oh, my gosh, an apple pie shake. Oh, yum.
Oh, yeah.
My friend
Damn.
hoots every year. We go do Lumberman's Monument. It's like, wow. Fun stuff.
Warp episode when you say the word hoot. We like the British comedies.
Oh, my
You
God.
got hooch, baby.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song about that.
Well, I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah.
Bye-bye. Junior.
Well, thanks so much for having us on. This is really, really fun, you guys.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourself, and you guys are very informative.
Thank you. Education is a huge part of what we do, but by default, God made us entertainers. So it's like I was explaining our background earlier.
Yeah.
I think it does make a difference. I did the radio thing for a little bit, before I moved to Springfield here, even, and they don't get paid very much to be a morning personality. Even, I think there's so many people waiting on deck coming out of the colleges to be Mr. Personality or Miss Personality to have their own morning show, Morning Zoo. The Bob and Show tomorrow. So that's one of the things we have fun sometimes with the radio show is we don't have to be stuffed shirts, concrete sequential accountant types, and we can color it up a little bit with our own personalities. We don't force it out; it just comes out that way. My wife is very funny. She makes me laugh all the time. Makes my kids laugh.
I don't make them laugh. I just poke them in the right place and say, "Laugh at me or else."
Well,
that's
bro.
the way to do it.
That will come out in the end. If you're a funny person, it'll come out.
Yeah.
And it's
we're funny.
You can tell you're not fake.
I think it's
you can tell people are faking it, and when people are genuine. You guys are pretty genuine.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. That's nice. We were just talking. We got to get you our next book so that you guys will have us back.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
If you guys are so open to truth, it's like I know you guys would use it, and you'd probably apply it because you sound like you know what's going on, and you're both on the ball.
Yeah. Well, I try to be.
Thank you.
You talked about being educated, and that's something in the paranormal field. A lot of paranormal investigators need to be educated because they're not fully educated into the paranormal. There's more than just spirits.
The truth.
What's the thing about? You never really know what's going on. It's always changing. What I thought I knew yesterday, I don't. It's totally different from what I know today, as far as the paranormal is concerned.
Yeah, and it's confusing too. When you go through, just going to time trek of, because we try myths out. It's like we were when we were talking to exorcist Chad Rippinger. I just asked him straight out. I said, "Is this myth, our reality of Lilith?" Because I think by now he'd probably know. And I've heard the transcription says that there was a spirit that identified itself as Lilith, but I want to know if there was a demon by that name, and in addition to the idea that was she, concocted as possibly being Adam's first wife. Well, he said no on the second question, that I just spelled out, but yes, there is a demon named Lilith. We need to hear, like I was talking to John Zappis in 2005, or I'll bounce stuff off of Ralph Sarchi. It's like, hey, I always thought that this is, it seems that way. What do you think? And that's what we do. When we get around to people with other oodles of experience, and Ralph comes from, he's seen 20 possessed cases and 2 or 3 really popular ones. Well, they say because they were in the book, The Satan Harvest, where he did that with, Ed and Lorraine Warren, and one that was called Werewolf, where the guy actually acted like, wolf. And they're tragic tales. And the one guy I think ended up committing suicide later in life. They're not quite over it. You just can't write a book and say the fat lady sings and it's time to ride off in the sunset.
Absolutely, yeah. So for you guys, how many possession cases have you seen or dealt with?
Last 2 that I can cite, we
2 in the last year, but we really don't talk about a lot of cases. So we talk about cases that, before we knew each other, because a lot of people listen to our radio shows. We don't want anyone to feel like we're talking about them.
Oh,
that was a problem.
That's okay.
That was a problem for some reason, because it's a very personal thing, and they're embarrassed about it. And we had Discovery America call us and say, "Do you know of any possession cases?" And I said, "Well, I can give you plenty of succubus cases and incubus cases."
Oppression,
obsession. Remain anonymous. They're very embarrassed about it. I told them, I said, "Well, the age-old case from 1980, they would and talk to them, and they didn't get enough people. They called, people that I knew, And everybody said the same thing. Everybody, who's been in the business a while said, "Oh, yeah, they want to kind of, be behind the curtain and be blacked out. Oh, we don't do that anymore. We don't black them out anymore." That thing. And so there's nobody who really wants to talk about it because they're afraid that it'll give it recognition, which is something we're going to learn more about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most unfortunate, I mean, we can talk about details of the case and how, let me give you an example I think is just interesting to know. A recent case, well, I guess you call it 2 years ago, recent, dear, I don't.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, no, there was one last year, too, so.
Yeah. And we're talking full-blown possession. It's really sad. It was a young girl, and she would actually come under at work. And what does they come under? It's like you change, and you black out. You don't remember anything you said, did. You're walking around or whatever. It is possession. You are losing it. I mean, because the other symptoms are there. But that is one of the things that happen. So we get a call from her, and she comes to in the bathroom. She calls and she's crying. Well, we definitely have an indication that all you have to do is talk to them on the phone, and well, among other things, even just pray for them, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And it'll cross over, and that's something that people should be aware of. That the lights can flicker in your house, the same night, unless you go about your house and tell whatever that might be bothering them to go away, to do the proper liberation prayers or minor exorcisms or whatever. That sounds an extreme. Because it is a proximity effect thing that actually comes from any form of the senses. So we had a prayer team about 10 years ago, and there was a guy, we'll just say his name was Todd, and they said, we'd like to pray for, some. And I had a guy contact me on MySpace. That was the Facebook of the old days,
Oh yeah.
He goes, I have a prayer team, about 20 people, and we meet on Thursdays. So we'd like to pray for some of your cases. And I said, well, you can pray for one right now. He's going to go to Father Francis. Father Francis is too old, so I think he's 80-something now. I don't think he personally does the ministry so much anymore. I think he's retired, but anyway. So they started praying for this gentleman, and it was during that 30 days, it was not resolved yet, waiting to get to the exorcist. And, I got a contact from the lead prayer, member, and he said, everybody in the team is getting hit with extraordinary hardships and misfortunes. Just like one of the guys, his wife is, leaving him, and other people's cars are breaking down and they can't make it. It's like it's extraordinary. And I said, have you been saying prayers for yourself? No. It's I assume this, and it's you got to. Even when you just pray remotely, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can be in Australia and praying for someone in New York. You'll be hit. There's anytime you have any kind of meddling, and the old-fashioned Scooby-Doo, it's like those meddling kids in the dark.
Yeah.
You're meddling, and they'll make you pay for it if they can get in. You remember when my wife was talking about those attributes that put you at odds with God, any kind of those sins that she specified and some others. They weaken you so that when you enter into that domain of just praying for people and you haven't acknowledged or recognized that I need to make my peace with God before I join in on the side of the good guys in any form, that I'm going to get my butt kicked. And it's expensive. They'll do stuff like prick the brakes on your car. In the electronic cars, they can mess with cell phones so much that I can see why they mess with the cars more now than they ever have. Because the cars are so electronic, they're easier to mess with than they ever were. I bet old Farmer Bill down the road, his truck, probably drives a 62 Ford pickup truck with baby blue color and the big giant wheel wells, that if you ran a Mack truck into it, it still wouldn't dent it. That truck the demon probably has a heck of a time making that thing act up, but it's not much. He's got 1,001 things to mess with the new cars with all this electronic stuff because they can really get into that easier. It doesn't take much of an iota of energy, so to speak.
Right.
Wow. So, with all the, you're saying with all the technology these days, that's increased the strength of the demons and stuff.
Well, the strength they have over us, but not the actual strength. They have the same strength. Well, someone can argue that it seems like there's more of them and they're stronger. I think we're just giving them more power, and they're just, unleashing more power that's been given to them. But technology, they seem to be able to affect electronics a lot easier. It's funny because whenever they mess with things like brakes and, hoses, it's a pinprick. It's a little pinprick on an aluminum brake line, and I don't know how that got there, And or on a hot water heater, I don't know how I got there. I'm talking about the service guys' opinions, and so it's a very minute thing. In electronics, a pinprick can totally destroy your smartphone. I went swimming with mine accidentally last summer. Was that last summer, dear?
And the summer before.
We don't want it does damage, but we've had our cell phones call each other. And guess what? It wasn't even due to case. I asked my wife, and she says, "Don't worry about it, because that's really what we're supposed to do." But I said, I wonder what's going on, because there's no case on deck that was particularly in her face, because that can be an indication that we got one coming or we're working on one right now. But there wasn't really anything. We're kind of in that little moment there, in a couple of weeks that there was nothing pending or anything that could have been it. Then I realized, I guess, should I tell them that it was Bob, should I tell them what the book was or whatever? I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. We had Bob Kramer on the show, and he wrote a book called Brownsville Demon, because he was a city alderman, and he had a demonic haunting, which the Diocese of Pittsburgh got involved with, and Adam Bly went over and helped him with. Well, I got a personal signed copy of his book. And one day I was in the backyard, and I come in the house, and my wife said, "You just called me on the phone?" I said, "No." She said, "I just got a call, and it showed your picture and icon, like they do on cell phones." I said, "It's right here. It's on the table. I'm standing right in front of the table." Yeah. And all of a sudden, after that, I don't know if it was the second time or the third time, both of our phones called each other right in front of us. And I looked, and I have no record of dialing her number in the log, and she has no record of dialing me, but we have records of receiving each other's phone calls. And then I looked, and it's like, I'm asking that question, and my wife said, don't worry about it. I'm inquisitive. I don't want to take it too far. I just want to know what that was. I'm not worried about it, of course. What's the house or whatever. And then I realized it's right there.
You're a techno geek, babe. I am spirit geek, okay? I could care less. It's like, go away, beasties, and you're like, how'd you get in here?
Yeah, because I analyzed the possibility of it could be a virus. It was impossible. And when impossible is there, like I said, the extraordinary or impossible, it's demonic. So right there, 1 foot away, was the copy Bob Kramer sent me in the mail, and I took it out of the package that day. It's sitting on the table. It's signed, and it came directly from him. And the other books we get from publishers when we have a guest on, and we'll get the publisher like Larry Richards or Ralph sent me a direct one, but he's on the other side, not he doesn't come to the victim side. I didn't expect anything from that one, and so I attributed to that. So I asked him off air. I said, "Have you had any crossover things?" And I think the case is still somewhat active, at least with him, that it came from his hands. But that's an example of how you get this kind of crossover proximity effect. But it didn't hit us financially. It didn't make me sick and double over, or my wife. It didn't make lights flash on and off. It didn't make the cell phones go out. But sometimes we are let to know, by the positive powers that be from God the Father, that these things are present so we can deal with them. And I think that's why we may wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes, because it means something. And then we go about the house and bless it. I'm talking about people who are aware of this kind of thing. So sometimes it comes upon us. Mm-hmm.
You mean more psychically open?
Yeah, that too. That seems to be apparent. Once you've been through there, you seem to be not just more mentally aware, like in the know, your eyes are open, but you also intuitive. And that kind of uncanny comes with it, But we attribute it to, a gift, not an acquired, kind of like Darwinism, that life programmed us to be that way because of being with a haunting. No, I think it's a gift, that if you are able to understand when it comes back and you deal with it, and so it doesn't really get any effects on you and your life or household in any way. And it's peaceful around here. There's people who got cancer, they got lupus, since they start investigating, and physical ailments. And not just that, the big one is it seems like they'll need quadruple bypasses. They'll have heart attacks at 27, that require bypasses. And then you're in question, it might even be the work they do. Well, one guy did. His name was Jake the Ghost Hunter, lived in Chicago. They actually represented him in a South Park graphic, and he told me one time about this time he went into a barn. I think that Satanism was regularly practiced. He was a kind of smirky skeptic, and he got picked up 4 feet off the ground, and his heart got squeezed, and he had a heart attack. He could feel a hand. Yeah. I didn't talk to him. It was 2005, too, and the last time I heard from this person. But some people, go through the extreme like that, and it affects you for the rest of your life.
What would cause that to happen? Like, I mean, that stuff doesn't happen all the time. What causes? Like, what do you have to do to, have that happen to you? I mean, people investigate, a lot all over the country. You don't hear about that stuff happening all the time. So, I mean, is there certain circumstances that have to take place for you to be attacked like that?
It does go again back to them making themselves vulnerable. The more negative things they do, and the more their spirit is open, and the more they're vulnerable. I honestly think that even though that people probably tend to call a demonic haunt, because demons have different ranks and varying degrees of power and size, you might see a manifestation that's more the size of a rodent or a cat. A cat one seems more common. It'd, be there for arguments and stuff to egg on, and you could see it run up a wall. It just doesn't seem to care about gravity, and it could be a 7-foot hulking figure. You wake up at, hooded, long arms. It could be so big it encompasses your room like a veil, and then it makes the lights appear dimmer. And until it's gone, you don't realize it's even there. You just think it's the natural darkness of your eyes are adjusting. And, what makes them vulnerable is a variable in it, and so as the spirit kind of gives them sort of like an armor of God, that the Bible talks about without actually practicing that. The more positive you are, the more you're going to keep out negative. You remember that old thing, Norman Vincent Peale? He was like popular in the 70s and 60s, maybe. And that he wrote a book called Positive Thinking. So people thinking, it's like L. Ron Hubbard or something. Oh, I'm just positive thinking. Yeah, everything works fine. Well, actually, what you're doing is you're giving power away from the demons by thinking positive. Because when you think negative, you think it's depressed, they draw. They go to you. The negative emotions are just play on you. They'll play on the positive ones too, but that's another story. And so that's one way. You might even be a person who already has this family history, like my wife was talking about with the family curses and generational curses that made you vulnerable because of the sins of your father, more or less, which it's not even, it's the result. It's not even how it got there that we have to pay attention to. You've heard people that play with Ouija boards. Nothing happens their whole life. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, if you look deep, you might find it, but it doesn't affect everybody in the same way. We do see people going into haunted locations and so forth, and some people are too quick to call it a demonic spirit. When we get from these church ministries, I really think like Bob Larson, you'll see him, slap the Bible on the forehead of a person saying he's exorcising people.
Right.
Yeah, and they're all staying fine. And I think there's a lot of people out there, especially the church orgs. Well, I guess the other ones do too, because instead of saying it's the Holy Spirit, they just say it's my spirit guide or whatever. So you get the same thing, different thing. I think their perspective of is that they use this supposed third eye. Oh, you have a demon. What? You have a demon. You need to be delivered. Well, you get the psychic mediums get the same thing, that they're misguided, and they might go into a place and say, you got demons everywhere. You need my special fluid, or you need my sage or whatever. So they go in and they do it. And then the demon that never was there to begin with has been delivered, and they actually convinced the people. It's kind of like a sideshow act. And
yeah.
Like the case
so I think that happens a lot. That's why some of them, and there's probably some that were on TV already, being portrayed by people sitting on stools, because they can be convinced, just like they are at those evangelical healings, that they had a demon, or that when they were just thinking that they couldn't walk, the preacher made them believe they can stand up, and no one ever really approached them.
Yeah, because they're vulnerable. They want to believe.
And I think that's going on.
Yeah. Well, there's people like that, obviously, in the paranormal, I want to say audience, because, this comes back to the good orb pictures and all this other stuff. But even with that being said, when we go back, I know you were saying, look at me, I'm having a brain fart. Oh, who would have thunk it? Darn it. I had a good one.
Catching.
Apparently.
You don't have to be in the same room.
Yeah. Darn it. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, back to the church. See, I was brought up a Baptist, Christian, of course. That's not what I follow, though. But, going everything in our area and everything that we deal with, one of the first things, they're like, I think that I've got a demonic attachment. And I'm like, oh, God. Here we go. So, everything around here is a demonic entity or attachment, and then we get in there and, you go through the questions. That's how we get to the bottom of things. And, and you're like, oh, no, it's not. And, I always tell them, too, and I'm very firm about this. I'm like, just don't even say the word. I feel like your words give things power, and I just you prefer them not to say the words. And people watch too much TV. People watch too much TV.
Way too much TV.
Yeah, and then when it comes down to the churches around here, that's why I have a lot of, our group is the first group that's in our area and been here for 4 years now. But, we had backlash from, I think, a female reverend. We was in the paper for one of our investigations, and she said that we was dabbling in the occult, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. Yeah, and, it's just, for me, honestly, I feel like if you're going to point fingers and, push things on people, be educated on your full spectrum of, of religion, because that's people's really downfall right there, is they're not actually educated in that. And when it comes down to it, and I always tell people like this, I feel like there's so many spiritually immature people around us. I said, you could be an 80-year-old woman, on their deathbed, and they're not as spiritually mature as, say, you got a 20-year-old walking around, and their maturity level is so much more than the 80-year-old lady,
Oh, totally get it. And consequently, it's just, spiritual maturity is not a reflection of any age.
Right.
At all. And unfortunately, the people that we help overseas, in Australia and London, India, Czechoslovakia, they say, most Americans, anything that goes bump in the night, everything's a demon over there. And we're like, no, it's not. I said, you haven't talked to us. But over there, they do, and they have many more incidents of ghosts and evil human beings. And there's the different cultures acknowledge too that, if they've got something demonic, they go get a priest right away and they get rid of it. They don't think twice. They just think, oh, something moved, it's demonic, get it out.
Right.
Yeah. I guess in a way that's not so bad, because Gabriel Amor said one time in one of his books, and it was translated from Italian, so let's hope it's really on the money, because it was funny. He says it's rather silly that the church should scrutinize a possession case with mental evaluations as much when they could liberate the person sooner rather than later, because the scrutiny can take 6 months or more. It's the red tape, the horrible red tape. It's not as bad as it was 20 years ago. To get it done, there's more exorcists for one reason, so you don't have to send a guy halfway across the world just to get the job done. Like in The Exorcist, they got, it's like they brought the guy from Italy on a dig site. or wherever that was.
Yeah.
I think it was over in the Middle East. But it was almost like that, in the 60s, that there were so few exorcists. It's like, oh, just call Father so-and-so over there. He's in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
let's have him do it. So that kind of thing has changed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny you say that is because, coming from where I do, I'm in Southwest Virginia, and you just don't hear of too many people willing to help with, demonic cases. And until I started really, not being so sheltered, and getting introduced to different people and getting their different views and knowing that there is help out there. And, that's always a plus for me because I know that I can call on people for help or, even advice. Because not many groups out there, like I said, are very educated on it and know that there are people out there willing to help them in cases where they're not sure if they are dealing with something like that. I think sometimes people their egos get in their way and their pride gets in their way. So, they want to think, I've got this, I've Googled this, I've got this.
I watched a YouTube video on it. I'm a genius on it now.
I know. I think it's because there wasn't no mile marker set. There was not a doctorate. I don't know where Dr. Bradshaw, he lives about 3 hours from us. He's like 70, and he's very concrete, sequential. He's also a grammar Nazi, if you pardon the expression for you grammar Nazis out there.
Oh, well,
he's actually a PhD demonologist in theology. That was his PhD specialty, but it was uncommon. He got his education in 60s, 70s. I think he got it in Israel or one of those, right? Yeah, I'm asking my wife, and he's legit. He doesn't go around to paranormal conventions. He only has 2 books out. Part of the thing is you can look at the fruit, see if they're really like trying to claw and climb their way to the top. Do they have EBPs all over their website? And but you can tell this guy, the ear markings are already there, that he's going to be a legit. He doesn't have any reason to lie, and that's one of the big things. So kind of the same things we look for in looking for someone to solve the case in a remote area, like if you have a referral, is the same thing that we look for to see if someone's fraudulently representing their haunting or possession because they're a narcissist or they're writing a book and, or they want to sit on stool. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, well, that seems like a very big thing these days.
Everyone wants to be famous these days.
Yeah, and that's terrible. I mean, who wants to be famous that way?
That's true, but,
Hey, the good news is the by proxy syndrome is probably not so evident. Now,
yeah.
I mean, there's new ways to go about it that don't involve poisoning your kids with antifreeze, so I guess that's a good thing about it.
I don't know. I've come across some of these people, and I'm a very easygoing, and I'm a love bug. I really try to send out positivity with everybody that I'm around. I hug everybody that I meet, but it's just sometimes you have to be very, very alert in the paranormal field, and it's just not the paranormal field; it's everyday life. But it's just sad. And when we talk about paranormal unity, we've all come to the conclusion there is no paranormal unity. It's just a word, because there anybody can get on Facebook or wherever and create a page and make themselves look very big when the truth is that these people are narcissistic and they are very potent people to have in your life. And you always and people feed off of other people. It's like being a psychic vampire, It's like people unknowingly go through this, and that bothers me. And I've been around people like that, and I've had to pull myself away from them because I'm like, I can't. I'm not at that level, I'm like a hippie chick, okay? Give me positivity.
Exactly. Stop being on my parade.
In the world.
Well, unfortunately, in the paranormal world, we're finding out that, a lot of people just want to help people and force it on them. And it's like you can't force somebody, to do anything. It's like you can drown them and then mount their head, but you're not going to help them.
Yeah.
No. No. Well,
yeah,
see, that's
there's a lot of people going from patient to doctor in a short period of time, and that's a real concern because most of the time they're still needing to be a patient, or it's hitting your whole family. Like, it's not only that they're still patients, their whole family is becoming diseased by whatever it is. And that includes even if they are bipolar. Those aren't really people we recommend because I tell people, and I probably haven't stressed it enough, everybody thinks it's all about the way the television show is laid out. You go in and you spend an all-night investigation, you spend a week going over the evidence, you come back, you do a reveal, and you say, do you want the house cleansed? I'll call this, Madam whoever down the street, and she'll bring her sage and her magic rocks and magic wand. Well, the problem, of course, is just the procedure and everything, but, in addition to that, it's the idea that, they could skip over all of that stuff and get straight to the meat and potatoes of it.
Right.
Yeah. I think TV's falsely representing everything, and that people are going to use that as their template, their guidebook.
Right.
They want it for the glory. People say, I don't charge for investigations. I said, yes, you do. You're putting up and you're calling the news stations and says, I got an EVP, or here's my little idea for a Halloween special for,
Yeah.
I mean, they do this way too much, and that's how they're getting it. They eat up narcissists get their pay through the media, through media attention. And so even though it's monetary, you're still getting paid. Look at the people who are discreetly lying low. Well, our thing is, education. I don't want to. We can be a little flamboyant. I hope people don't cross-associate us with that or anything like that, because it's not our motive. It's funny because Monsters and Mysteries in America came on and was over, and I had not said one word that I was showing up on it. We didn't say one word. We had a camera crew here for a day. We hadn't said anything. And when there, there could be something else that comes up, we'll just say, because that's not. We don't. In a way, some people said you're not putting yourself out there enough. You don't have a donate button on your website. I mean, it's like we don't even know when to start, tooting our horn to say, hey, call us, and don't call, whoever down the street, who's only been doing it for 2 days. There's some pimply kid online who's actually started some new referral service. Guess I shouldn't say his name or whatever. He's going around, he's emailing everybody, including people I know. And I just heard about the guy like a year ago. He looked like Howdy Doody. And I'm like, this guy, he's like, now he's heading in Oregon. He got some people that I know to actually join who are not my good friends, but I know of from the business. And I was like, if you spend enough time promoting the heck out of yourself, you can be a phony priest collar guy. Go down there, buy your priest outfit, call yourself Archbishop so-and-so.
Absolutely.
And then, start an order of... we'll just make up a new order. The Order of, St. Raphael.
Yeah.
And go in there and open up every kind of account you possibly can. Go to Twitter, go to, LinkedIn, go to Pinterest, is it? And open up everything on the web. And, of course, you're saying, how does this guy have that time to do it if he's a priest? Should he be busy, like doing prayers and masses? No, they don't, because that's not what they do. The whole idea is to get themselves out there. Don't look for the fruits of their labor. Are they asking for money to join their little club? Are they a narcissist and they feed off of the popularity online? All the answers are there.
Right.
And also the legitimacy of their ordination and stuff is easy to explain, especially through us. And once they put the Roman collar on, they're under the microscope. I'll put it that way. And we can easily verify it. Yeah, because it's kind of like Catholic wannabe. Unless they say, we are Episcopal. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Father Andrew Calder, hey, God bless him. God rest his soul. But when you start calling yourself Catholic, be prepared to be scrutinized, because I take offense of it as a Catholic and as someone who I think real cases are going to call, and the guy is going to go, oh, no, last time I got hit with a 2x4, and, yeah, don't get me started on that right there.
No kidding. We got the 2x4.
You're right. It's really easy to be someone or pose as someone, especially it's really bad about the groups. As far as
I'll be right back.
my group. Okay. well, we've had our group for about 4 years, and what actually got me into the paranormal was just a whole. I guess I've always been one of them people that's always seeking more. You know, I know there's more out there, and then I started having my own experiences, right, like 9 years before I even, you know, decided to start investigating into the paranormal, and that gave me time to research into it more and figure out what was going on with myself. And, you know, I'm continuously learning, and, you know, everybody is. Nobody knows it all, and I'm continuously looking for knowledge and education on how I can better myself. But you know, I've been through it, like I told you, with, you know, people could be anybody online and gain 5,000 followers on Facebook, and, you know, and put graphics on their page. You know, it's just crazy, and then they'll try to you know, manipulate people, and, you know, it's just crazy. It's not a good thing at all. And you know, I've been through a lot with it too. I've had people tell other people I had negative attachment attached to me. You know, and I think it's usually people that have a really bright light, and the people who these behaviors love to try to put them lights out. They just love it.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That's
another way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I want to get y'all's take on, because I know y'all are going, I know you've done plenty of research, and you guys are very knowledgeable. One of the things that I really am into is astral traveling and astral projection. What's y'all's take on that?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. In my first book, I detailed the dangers of opening yourself up, which can start with oppression, the stages of possession. You know, subjugation, obsession, oppression, and possession. And one of the things that we find from, you know, research, experience, and so forth is altered states of consciousness, which could come from meditation beyond, you know, if it's just for peace and you're not meditating on God, because when you meditate on God, you actually blocked that evil because it's so positive. Altered states of consciousness through the use of recreational drugs like hallucinogens and so forth. LSD is a really bad one, and got a lot of things that, you know, I can tell you about that even go back before I was even doing any kind of work to solve the problems. I was watching this stuff hang around. Even when people wake up and they can be half asleep, they might experience something. It's not the same, though. When they come out of a sedation that was because they were under an operation, they can wake up and they can growl like an animal. They can have extraordinary human strength. It's for the same exact reason. Anytime we do that, self-hypnosis, hypnosis, we've actually stepped out of our body and left our cars in the ignition just enough that someone can push their way in, and the demonic is a bully. That's why all the Ouija boards consider it's always a demonic, even if he seems mellow and he's seems like a teenage boy, and you're a lonely schoolgirl, you know, and he seems to be kind of righteous, and he's like that kid from that Twilight movie. You know, wears lipstick and leather jackets or whatever, and you know they got their profile and plan. But the first thing of invitation is don't leave yourself open in front of them. Remember, my wife, I keep saying it again and again. She talked about when in the very beginning that when we do certain negative things, we actually open it up because we're going against the positive spirit. We're going against our nature of our spirit as a positive one. Even though we kind of perpetuate as kids to being brats and me, you know, that's a different thing. That's kind of like the psychology, but that's not our spirit. That leaves us all open because I'll give you here's a case study. I gotta watch the names on this thing. I could tell you off air. I reinvestigated a case that I got a book on, and I know the person who worked on it. The people will say. And so I inquired about it, and I said, I read the book, and I actually formed this opinion, and it was right, and it wasn't mentioned in the book at all. You got to look below the surface. And I said, I saw the video, and I had the videotape and everything. and I said, this boy is astral projected, and he is checked out. He's not possessed at that moment, because the priest, who was a well-known priest, was also doing, the anointing. He was doing all of the things that you would do if you're trying to expel the demon. He was not reacting whatsoever. I recognize it as an empty shell. Let's call it like empty shell syndrome. If you check out and you're off and your spirit is out of the way and this priest ran the demon off, you can still be in a catatonic, like coma state because your body hasn't received your spirit back in again. You haven't gone back in. Demon's gone. No one's in there. Lights are out. And when I said this to the person, I said, was that mother teaching her son to astral project? And he said, I told her about that. She shouldn't do that. Don't do that ever again. And that's what was said. That was behind the scenes. It was not in the book. It was not in the public. It was not said. It was candid because it was just between those two. And that's the way a lot of stuff is. It's some things are so private. We don't want to reveal. Kind of like with the possession cases in general. There's a lot of details you won't hear, or you'll never know the person's name. That's how dangerous it is. That you are literally leaving your nice car with the door open and the keys in ignition in a bad neighborhood. And even though it might be, the kind of enlightening and all this other stuff that people get, with the positive, there's too much of a risk that you just gave a demon an opportunity to jump in because we're not naturally protected. Are there protections you can use to say or do before you try to astral project to maybe put a car alarm on your body to protect yourself? Well, some people have a St. Benedict medal on and stuff like that, and your whole life. I mean, you can build up your spiritual tolerance, but the fact that you're playing with something that has a potential danger, it's just like the death wish. The guy, you remember the guy that was diving and he was jumping Grand Canyons and he'd open those Batman wings up? Well, they crashed into the side of a mountain and died lately. A couple of weeks ago, right, Farrah? Yeah. We just watched it's the story about this guy on NBC, and it's thinking, it's like Evel Knievel, without the motorcycle. Right. We endeavor in these things. That's why they call it a cult, because it's the unknown, and we are unhealthy. We have an unhealthy curiosity. That's one of the reasons, even with the Ouija board, they go and ask, little girls go, will I be married someday? That kind of stuff. Just curious questions, not that they want to actually contact the spirit. They kind of treat it like the 8-ball. And that's where it begins. When you seek the unknown, usually when you're going to get into trouble. And most of the things that's unknown is not knowledge. It's not going to the professor and saying, hey, I want to learn to speak Spanish, or I want to learn how to do computer graphic arts, so that when I open those programs, it's not a mystery to me what polygons are, or what textures are, that kind of thing. And that's what it is. It's one of those slippery slopes. As soon as you enter into that plateau of experimenting with that, I think there's just too many risk and negatives. In the same way, what you could say about paranormal investigation versus doing the work of helping people, that I've seen people supposedly come out with psychic gifts just from house hunting, hunting, when you just go there and you just do haunts and you don't say, hey, I'll help you with this problem, and then suddenly they have a psychic gift. Well, we know that for a fact from experience, possessions, oppressions. People have gotten oppressions and they got infestations, just like when I got Bob Kramer's book. It can cross over. And if you go to a location and you're just there with unhealthy curiosity and you want to pretend like the ghost or the demons are zoo animals, you've crossed that line already, and you probably are going to get more likely infected in one way or another. And they might just hit you below the belt. You won't have the end of glory. You can talk about it on a stool on Paranormal Witness. You're going to get stuck with the hardships and the misfortunes, and we see that way too much. Car wrecks, uncanny, bad luck. You of all people got mugged. Your house got broken in for the first time. Your boss suddenly turned on you and fired you. Your friends stopped talking to you, and It just comes like a black cloud over your head. That's the way they really like to work. I tell people, I said, you're getting knocks on your walls and stuff like that, man, and, that's a blessing because we know that's demonic straight up. When they hit below the surface, they can work that way for 5 years until you're living in a cardboard box. But we don't want to give them invitation and, opportunity, especially for possession. This happens way, way too easy. And just because of the word is invitation can come by intention more often than anything else. When I was talking to Ralph, someone was criticizing his team for using some conventional, methods. And if your end result is to conventional, traditional paranormal investigation things, if your end result is to deliver that family from whatever evil is there, not for self-glorification, you can't hide that. You can't lie to God and say, I'm not doing it for the money, or I'm not doing it for the glory. You can't hide from the demons, or you can't hide from God. That when we do it out of curiosity, we want, it's still, the end result's still going to be the same if we really don't have a justifiable reason to do certain things, like the guy who wants to just feel what it fly across the canyon. And I think that's probably the best example right there. It's a death wish for your spirit. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I mean, I'm not going to talk about yoga or any of these other things, but I'd say
you mean Swami yogurt?
Yogurt. Yeah.
Or is that toucan food yogurt?
It's dangerous. And you may not notice it. Over time, you might find that you run into a friend who you haven't seen for 5 years, and they said, something really different about you, And you say, what did you mean by that the other day? And because they don't call you back. And you said, let's have, lunch. And then they say, you're really short-tempered and there's something, different. You used to be so, positive. Now it just seems like you're exerting that as if to cover up some dark side or, and you really are frowning on the inside, but you're smiling on the outside. And this is what we've heard from third-party witnesses who we interviewed of oppression cases. And and it happened over a period of time. The sad thing is the longer it goes by unchecked and it sneaks in there, it's so gradual, no one notices. Not even in the family until, the wife looks back and says, what happened to us when we had that one-room apartment and we were so happy? And now you're just a jerk,
Yeah.
And it just happened over time. Then you find out it wasn't because it was, just because you got this better job and anything like that. They're actually just a spirit working on a lower level, and we identified it, but they just blew it off. Because they didn't recognize it with the traditional things that go bump in the night. But all the other criteria was there that even the church recognizes, and the exorcist will ask the right questions if they go there to actually do the work to get the possession liberated.
Oh yeah, that was very interesting. I had to ask.
Yeah, sorry to be there.
I had to ask because that's how my experiences started out, with out-of-body experiences, and I didn't know what was going on at first, and I don't have them so much now. I have a better understanding of it now than I did. But I do meditate. I'm a meditator. I told you I'm a hippie chick. I burn my incense and all that. It is very good. Yeah, that's actually how I found out. My hands heat up. 2 years ago, actually, is when it started. I find that when spirit is around, or if I'm around someone who needs, whether it is emotional or physical healing, I guess, then they heat up. I still haven't pinpointed it, and I'm still, being educated on what it is, but I've had tons of people tell me it's more of like hands-on healing, and I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not that. That's not me. But just trying to understand what it is. So that's why I asked. Because
the church is kind of afraid of some terms. It's like if you tell the church the word aura, they're going to think New Age right away. But in the Saints, Padre Pio saw 7 layers of auras, and one of them was the state of the person's soul, physical state, their current mood. I don't know how you found 7. I can't even name 7. But typically, I think people see 3, and more commonly, people see 1. But they didn't call them auras. They probably had some other. I don't remember what they call them. It's been a long time. We read this stuff over the years and that kind of thing. But that one with the meditation, in later interviews with George Lutz and Kathy, they attributed their transcendental meditation as being an invitation to the demon getting a threshold on them personally. And I think when I connected with Tim Yancey and some others, that's one of the things. Ever since the Amityville, I've made sure I researched it, and I can use it as an example because I'm fully convinced. You ever know Jay Anson got some of the details wrong, and you're always going to get these magicians, criticizing and saying demons don't exist and stuff like that. But these guys make their living like lawyers do at lying and manipulating. So why would I believe in what they say anyway? And all I know how to do is make tricks. They're not theologians. They have not experienced any of this stuff. I always said that if you gave James Randi a jar with ghost in it, he would say it's jelly, just so you didn't have to peel $100 million off his Batusi, So
right.
Yeah. There you have it.
That's too funny. Well, we're winding down on the show, guys. We want to give you guys the chance to talk about anything that you guys have coming up. And, of course, to give out your information for your website and all that information, email, etc., anything you'd like to give out and announce. Okay.
Well, you can find our books. We have 5 currently published, and the 6th one is on deck, and the 7th one that'll just have prayers in it, and it's going to be just the cheapest one possible. We want to get it out there. The Investigations Guide and Demon's Guide to Haunting Stupid Humans is kind of a humorous thing. It'll have one-frame comics. It'll be like the Screw Tape Letters. It'll be all facts, but sometimes we gotta not take things so seriously to keep you
that's
sane.
Me all the time.
Yeah, so the other ones are just a division of Christian demonologists, and Catholic. And the reason why we say Christian is because Catholic is Christian. It's the oldest Christian religion. We did it because we took out the veneration and honoring and intercession of the saints and other things in there to make it appropriate for other denominations who have issues with those type of things. So we have the handbook and workbooks and study guides for both Catholics and other denominations of Christian faith. And we have the Haunted Self-Help Guidebook, which is great for a person who just wants to solve the problem without calling paranormal investigators or use it as a template to help others. Those are on our website, CatholicDemonologists.com. There's also an audio book of the out-of-print version of Spotter Utenauer book on exorcisms. And so I think our radio show CDs might be there, CatholicDemonologist.com. SwordsofSt.Michael.com. We got the prayers on there and a link on our website, Demonology Today Radio. It's just DemonologyToday.com for the third one. SwordsofSt.Michael.org was the second one, in case I missed the org part. And that's our radio show. And it's designed for education. We put guests on. We ask the right questions. When you, just like with you guys, when you are diverse, you're knowledgeable about the topics, it makes for a better host. And you don't ask dumb questions like, you know what I mean? It's if you get the wrong thing, like, why do you think the demons don't like man? I mean, those are good questions, but you'll hear all those kind of questions from the typical FM AM radio station because they don't know. That's why I really enjoy coming on these shows. And our radio show is we're taking the summer off, or we're playing old archives from 2008 because we've had it on and off since 2008 at least. So, and it's available it's on the Paraspeak Radio Network, WPAR. If anybody wants to check out the archives, and the day after, tomorrow, on Wednesday night, not tomorrow, you can go to paraspeakradio.com or demonologytoday.com and listen to a live stream of one of our retro programs, which may or may not include the current lineup. It's just myself. It could be Alan Glassell. It could be Deborah Johnson. It could be my wife. I think we played the archives now. So anything to add? Oh, my beautiful wife makes some wonderful rosaries.
Well, not only that, all the St. Benedict stuff. I make St. Benedict rings, St. Benedict rosaries, St. Benedict chaplets, and Anglican stuff, and that's on Etsy under my shop, Farrah Rose.
Oh, cool.
Just in case somebody needs, a St. Benedict ring, it's no problem. I can make them any size. I'm working on men's rings, but haven't quite gotten there yet.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a good one. A lot of people are asking about that. That's Etsy.com/shop/Farrah Rose. That's with one R, not two. Her name's spelled differently than the dead actress from Charlie's Angels, so Farrah Rose, all one word. And Etsy is ETSY. It's the craft site. I think everybody knows about that.
Yeah.
Etsy.com.
Yeah.
So you can check out her handmade heirloom quality using silver and gold to link them together, and it takes her about 5 hours to make a rosary, for example. So they're not done with rosary kits and hooks, and they go over quite well. But thank you for having us on the show.
Absolutely. It was very insightful.
We'll promote all your stuff on our Facebook pages as well.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Kenneth, Farrah, Deel. We just have it as my first name, my wife's first name, and then the last name.
We're the real deals.
Yeah.
Real deals.
We don't make a deal. We don't make deals. We are the real deals.
I guess I'll throw this plug in there last minute. We have a haunting episode.
We're too old to make deals.
In about 4 months, and so I'll say it just because I had a haunting episode about a case that we worked on.
She finally got that.
Maybe or not, we might announce it somewhere else. If we don't, then you'll be the exclusive.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
So, it was investigators, on that one. So, and it has a happy ending in a very unusual way it ended too. So, I'm sure that people will find it as a good case study.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I've got to the point where I'm awful. I don't watch TV a lot. I watch documentaries. I'm a documentary nerd. Yeah, definitely. But you guys have been a blast, and we'd love to have you on sometime in the future talking about your upcoming book.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
And we got multimedia plenty to talk about. It never ends. Hence the radio show.
It's going and going like an Energizer Bunny.
Yeah. Awesome turnout.
There we go.
Yes. But we hope you guys have a very good night. And again, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us and enlightening us on demonology.
The oogity boogity.
Definitely keep in touch.
Sounds like a plan. You guys have a good night.
All right, guys.
All right, you guys too.
All right,
thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was informative.
Very, very informative.
That was fun.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were very fun to talk to, very laid back.
Yeah, it's nice to have guests on where we don't have to fish for, information out of them. It's great.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. We definitely didn't have to fish for information from them. For
no,
sure.
Not at all.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I like people like that who just it makes our job easier.
Yeah,
we have guys like that on our show,
Yeah, I think it's always we've got 90 seconds, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. But next Monday, you guys tune in. We will have Ryan.
Tara Perfetti Street on the show. She is a paranormal researcher, teacher, and a good friend of mine. So she can come on the show and talk to us.
Yes, and don't forget also we have a Sunday night show on Incubi Incarnate. And who will we have on Sunday, Ron?
I think Josh Detweiler to talk about conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah.
But don't hold me on that. I think that's who we're going to have this Sunday.
Okay, I won't hold you on that one.
Good. But we totally love our freaks again, and thank you very much for listening to the show. Just wouldn't be, I guess we would be here without them because we would still be doing the show, but
we can talk to ourselves.
So yeah, we'd have our private phone conversation broadcast to the world, and nobody listening to it. But you have any suggestions? What you want to hear on the show? Let us know. You know, we love your feedback for sure.
Yeah. Well, this is Holly signing off. You guys have a good night.
Yes.
Ryan.
Good night, guys.
All right, Ryan. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.